Being uncomfortable as a CEO is actually a damn good thing. Hey, I'm Donnie Bovine, the CEO and founder of Success Champion Networking and author of Endless Stream of Referrals. This is Growth Mode, a podcast centered all around growing and scaling your business. Hanging out with me, as always, is Kevin Snow, the sales automation tactician and genius. And in this episode, guys, we're really going to talk into why you need to get really damn uncomfortable with the CEO and why it'll help you scale your business. All right. This one's on me. I'll start this one off. But, I really struggled stepping into the role of CEO because, I never saw the CEOs of most of the companies I worked for growing up. I mean, the only time you would see the CEOs is if you were bringing in a massive deal or you were losing a massive deal or, something was going majorly wrong with whatever you were selling. So, the CEO in my mind was always the guy who sat in the corner office, out of sight, out of mind. And I know for me, I kind of really didn't think they did anything. I I didn't know what the point of having a CEO was. So I mean, as I started building Success Champions, I kind of did the same thing. I was out of sight, out of mind, a lot of it because I didn't know what the hell I was supposed to be doing. And it wasn't till, almost losing the business, everything going haywire, that I realized that a CEO has a lot more on their plate than I actually anticipated. And I had to learn really quick to start thinking like a CEO and being and acting like a CEO. And that was uncomfortable as hell because all I knew was being an employee. And so leveling up to the mindset of being a CEO forced me to do a lot of things that did not come naturally to me. I mean, I had to lead and serve and all kinds of stuff. So getting uncomfortable as a CEO is a damn sure good way to grow yourself and your business. Go ahead, bud.
So what things I feel like we're starting a counseling session here. So tell me what things made you feel uncomfortable?
A lot of it was centered around the processes and building of systems and making things duplicatable because that felt like the work I did not want to do. I've always been kind of a gunslinger sales guy. So, it's shoot from the hip and make it happen. And the idea of putting constraints on it is what I felt like of the systems, the processes, all that stuff really felt like the man was telling me how to run my business, if you will. So it was uncomfortable trying to realize that without those systems and stuff, I could not build the empire I was trying to build. So that's right. The second thing is, you know, for me growing up, CEOs were cold. They're you didn't see them, and I wanted to be approachable. So I had to one learn that the CEO is not cold, right? They're not the standoffish person, but they do have to make some hard calls. They have to make some tough decisions, and I had to get okay making those tough decisions, letting people go or bringing people on or killing projects that people had put a lot of time and energy into. I mean, that's never fun to look at Kevin and say, hey, remember all that thing you built out and all the shit you did? Yeah, we're not doing that anymore. We just had another one of those come up not too long ago. Be like, are we going to do anything with events with an edge? No, not right now. But he put a lot of time and effort into it. And it was those things that a CEO's got to do that were really uncomfortable. But in the same token, um, I had to put myself out there, and I've always been good on stages and stuff, but now I had to put myself out there on scale. It means I had to learn a whole lot more stuff, and all that stuff was hard to do, and really made me uncomfortable learning to go through it because I felt so clunky going through it and ultimately becoming it.
I think one of the things that a lot of small business owners are really uncomfortable with as playing the CEO role is that being the face of the company.
Mm.
I think everyone came from at some point the worker bee position where you went and did your thing and you excelled at what you did and you'd get promoted and you just rinse and repeat. But
You were
once
only known in your company.
yeah, exactly. And you're known in your company, oh dude, Kevin, he's a sales guy, Donnie's a sales guy, they kick ass, blah blah blah. But now as a CEO, you need to be visible everywhere. And that was one of the big things that made me uncomfortable. And I'm still getting better at it. Is I need to be visible. I need to be putting myself out there. Now I have this podcast, but now I'm getting ready to launch some new social media stuff. I'm doing a bunch of other things so that I can be more visible to the marketplace and start becoming that thought leader that a CEO is supposed to be. And that's scary for a lot of people.
Well, and I think because there's a lot of head trash that comes up with it,
Yep.
I know one of my biggest things that I still fear is that I'm going to put something out there that just destroys the company. I'm going to say something that is taken the wrong way or out of context, and it's going to blow everything up. It's why I so respect Elon Musk right now because that motherfucker, is just having a field day with I'm gonna buy this next. I mean, the Coca Cola one was hilarious for me. He's like, I'm buying Coca Cola just so we can put the cocaine back into Coke, and shit like that is cracking me up, and it's because these guys say so many more crazy ass things out there that it makes it a lot easier for us that are still up and coming to say it because as much as I say you just got to not give a fuck about what people think about you, there's still some voice in the back of your head sometimes that's like, you know, is that really how you want to be? Do you want to be associated with that? And so, yeah, I agree. There's a lot about putting yourself out there, but for some people, you don't need to be fucking everywhere, but you need to be known in your world, in your space. I mean, there's a gal I'm following on LinkedIn, and I wish I had her name in front of me. I think it's Laura Howard or Lauren Howard. And I love it because she says, I used to think that I don't like people. And what I've come to realize is I like people as long as it's online interactions. She's like, I can sit here on LinkedIn and Zoom all day, and I love my people. But if I got to put on pants and go to the store and put on the makeup and all the stuff, right? It's a whole thing. And so for her, the idea of being the face of the company, of getting on stages and getting on podcasts and doing all the things like you and I do, would just be way out of her space and out of her world. But being the face of her company all over LinkedIn, which is so easy right now, is absolutely just awesome to watch people that this idea doesn't come naturally really helps them step out of their shell. But that's a great way example of why you got to get uncomfortable being a CEO.
Well, and I remember I went to, and this just happened a couple of months ago, and I know I messaged you about it like literally as it was happening. I went to a concert, huge concert, stadium concert, all the lights, all the stuff. And like the first half of the concert, I just sat there and I was imagining thinking about being on that stage presenting. And I'm like, that's so cool. I want to do that. And then it hit me. It's like, I've never had that thought before. All right. So we've turned that corner, and it was really cool for me to think about, yeah, I want to be able to fill that stadium with the summit or whatever event that we do and be able to be on stage and have everyone cheering, and that was cool. But it took me I'm going to be 50, so it took me a long time to make that shift from just being happy being the sales guy and being known within my little circle to now wanting to be on stage and have the rock star following.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, I had that epiphany one time. I was happened to be in a halftime show for a basketball game in a freaking free throw competition. And as I walked out on the court, it was a WNBA at a freaking a local college, and I know there's 5,000 people in that crowd, man. And when I walked in the middle of that court, If you go back and watch the video, it's out there somewhere. I literally spin in a circle just so I can take in what 5,000 fucking people look like. It was really damn cool, and I'm like, yep, yep, we're heading that direction.
Yeah, I
You know,
remember the first time I wrestled at a state tournament, the first match I walked out on the mat, I literally did that because we were in a big stadium. And it was like a college basketball stadium. And I remember looking around, it's like, holy shit. And having to fight through that my first match, which is never the mindset you want to be in when you're going out to compete. But
I'm
it
about to get my
was
ass whooped in front of 5,000 people, right?
that wasn't the thought process, but it was a huge distraction at any point. But I remember doing that circling thing and looking and saying, "Oh wow, there's a lot of people here. This is kind
Yeah.
of cool."
You know, but I also think as a CEO, you got to get comfortable making those tough calls. I
Yep.
mean, because I'll be the first to tell you that I've kept people on doing things for us way long past what I should have because I was empathetic to their lifestyle or the things they were doing. And it sucks telling somebody they're no longer working with you. And it's no fun to tell somebody they're not a fit. Or, sometimes, and we've had people that have become part of Success Champion Networking that were just douche canoes. And I've had to step in and have some really fucking hard conversations to tell them they're no longer welcome as part of the family. And, those aren't fun conversations, to get into. And it's not comfortable having those conversations. But if you don't have those conversations, it'll fucking tear down the foundation of everything you're trying to build, and destroy everything from within.
I think
Yeah,
for a CEO or any entrepreneur that's growing a business, if you're not uncomfortable with where you're at, what you're having to do at that moment of being a CEO, your business is becoming stagnant. You're becoming
agreed.
complacent. That uncomfortable feeling means you're pushing your boundaries and you're expanding your horizons. If I think it's a good tell for a CEO that if you're not feeling uncomfortable with what's going on and you're like, oh wow, everything's going great, this is awesome, you now have to figure out, all right, so what's that thing that's going to keep me moving
Mm.
forward.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think uh, as we continue to grow, there's been a couple times where I'm like, damn, this feels like a business. And almost any time that I've said that, it's almost like I put on the brakes because it was almost like in my head I was trying to get to this plateaued type place. And when you get there and you get comfortable and you get, oh man, we've done something, then you better head for that next space of uncomfortableness and go bigger and start figuring out exactly what it's going to take for you to go to that next level, because like Kevin said, you're going to move backwards really, really, really quick. And bigger may be going after bigger clientels, bigger may be going after more customers, bigger may be asking to get on a bigger stage, bigger may be hiring more staff than you think you're ready for. I mean, there's a lot of ways to get uncomfortable. Bigger may be taking a bigger investment in something. Kevin and I just invested in a technology to move the Success Champions networking community over to a enclosed community. And that's not necessarily a small investment for our company. It's going to take a lot of work to keep it running and do all the right things, but you know we had to go figure out a new technology, figure out all the moving parts and all that to make it work. And that's another way to look at is sometimes we just get comfortable in the tech that we're playing with, and you've got to get out of it to go try and expand and move. I mean, there's always a chance that this technological move that we're making right now is the wrong call. I mean, it may completely fail, but we don't know if we don't give it our all and actually try and make it, really, really work. I'm confident that it's going to happen, but if it doesn't, we learned a valuable fucking lesson. And I think that's the name of the game, as you go through it. I would also put in there that, oftentimes we don't know as CEOs always the right next move to make. And for me, it's always breaking it down to the most micro, simple steps to get moving and then take a step in that direction. And that usually gets me moving towards whatever I'm uncomfortable with.
Is there such a thing as being too uncomfortable?
Yeah, I think you can push yourself over the ledge. And I think that's where you see companies that are actually scaling, when they're 10x, 100x in their business, um, they believe they've got the infrastructure in place, they've got the foundation in place. And then all of a sudden they get an influx of cash coming in. And because they're comfortable in one aspect of their business, they think they've got it handled, they go make an investment that brings in an influx of customers and everything else. And because they haven't pushed the boundaries of their processes and systems yet, as soon as that influx comes in, everything crashes and burns. So I think there has to be a way to regulate what specifically you're doing with, you know, your uncomfortableness or your risk taking or your tolerance. And you need a checks and balances, even for like this big technology. Kevin and I sat down and we walked through the numbers and we talked about, does it actually make sense to move this, and go this direction? So it's nice to have somebody to bounce these ideas off when you're making these bigger investments and stuff. So, um, yeah, it's a fine edged sword to take massive risk and go after the uncomfortable things because you think you can pull it off. Um, but it is also a good thing to have your boundaries and your checks and balances in place too.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree. Risk. I think the uncomfortable feeling can be, if you get too uncomfortable, it can be paralyzing for the individual, and it can
Yeah.
get
Have
them
you
to
ever
the
seen?
point where they can't make a move at all.
Yeah, like I say, you ever seen somebody get on stage or like, "Ooh, I'm going to do this whole thing speaking on stage," and then they completely freeze,
Yep.
right? That is a position of pushing yourself too far past your comfort zone. Maybe you should have started in front of, two or three people versus, trying to speak in front of 10,000, um, pick your battles, you know. Um, any other last thoughts on getting uncomfortable as a CEO in your world?
I just keep going back to that as a CEO. If you have this vision for your business, you have to understand, to grow it, you need to move out of where you're comfortable. You're going to have to try new things, take risk, learn new skills, do things that you haven't done before. And you have to be okay with that. You need to figure out, we talk about this all the time, what's standing in your way within your head. What is blocking you from making those moves, and find someone who can help you get rid of them
Yeah.
and help you make that step forward. It's okay to feel uncomfortable. It's not okay to be so uncomfortable that you're paralyzed, though.
Yeah, no, I love that. And I think, being a CEO is an evolutionary process. It's not, I mean, you may get put in a role or become a CEO. You may have that position or title, but I think it's something you evolve into because, I mean, you look at somebody like a Michael Iger who took over for Disney after Michael Eisner. And, Michael Iger led Disney into some of the largest acquisitions in the company's history. And you don't pull that stuff off without having the ability to project what the future is going to hold and have an idea around it. But also, that's a massive uncomfortable move knowing you could acquire, Star Wars, you could acquire Marvel and these big ass companies. And although you're known for Mickey Mouse, Donald Duck, Goofy, and all these type of things, now you're getting known for Deadpool and Wolverine, and you're really pushing the boundaries of the brand of Disney, knowing that making that purchase could derail everything. That's ballsy. And, but that's oftentimes what you have to do as a CEO is really push the limits, and be okay with the consequences on the back end. So with this, guys, I think, the biggest thing is get uncomfortable, get to a place where you're constantly challenging, how you're looking, how you're showing up, how you're pushing the business, and watch the more you step towards that uncomfortableness, the more you will actually grow as a
Mhm.
person and grow as a business. So, as always, guys, if you got any tips, tricks, any values out of this episode, please make sure you leave us a 5-star review wherever you listen to podcasts. Make sure you're subscribed and share this out with one person who you think would be, get value out of this show. And as always, love you, mean it. See you. Bye.